Hi Spike fam! It's been a while since I've done a one-on-one with you, so I'm really excited to come back to you in this format today. We are starting a new series. It's going to be called Spike Breakdown. Now, over the past year or so, we have been receiving messages from our Spike family about situations they have been experiencing with different companies, and they've been sharing with us some of the things they are disgruntled about. So we are going to be answering some of these questions. We are going to be reviewing some of these situations and giving you the Spike take. Alright, so just be mindful, I will be changing names of the persons who submitted the information, but I will mention the company. So we will start off with, who can guess? Who can guess it? We're starting off with Flo. Maybe you saw the tag, but I don't know. So our first one will be a situation with Flo. Main issues we saw is that there are ridiculous wait times. In Sandra's story, she has been having an issue since February, and it is June now, and it is just being resolved. When you look in the comment sections, there are a lot of people talking about the issues that they've been having and why they've been having the same issue for so long, and their lack of success in trying to reach someone in on Flo's team. The next thing we want to point out is that there was no ownership of the issue that Sandra was facing. We noticed that the customer service person ensured that they went back to talk about the bank and the fault that the bank had, even though the initial customer service agent was able to identify that the issue was in fact with Flo. Now, we are not saying that the bank may not have had an issue, but at this juncture, it is not wise for Flo to be pointing out someone else's ineptitude. The correct thing to do is just to acknowledge the fault that Flo has had in the situation, apologize for it, and rectify it. Trying to place the blame at this point is just making a bad situation worse. So that was not the right move to make there. We also noticed in comment sections that persons were making reference to the team and that they weren't able to get the same information from everyone. They get different information and different steps depending on who they speak with. And in Sandra's situation, she was also mentioning that she was frustrated and she had to steel herself to call the customer service center again the following day. She also mentioned that the customer service agents that she was put on to didn't even know how to transfer her to a billing. They didn't know, they couldn't find the issues, all of that. So therefore, there is an issue with training there. There is some breakdown in the system that's happening. Clearly, all persons do not know the policies, the rules, the procedures. So there needs to be an improvement in product knowledge and process knowledge on the part of the employees at Flo, so they can meet the needs of the customers. And since we're on the outside looking in, we can't speak to what exactly is causing that lack of knowledge, but I'm sure they can, well, we know of ways to figure out what is causing that. The next thing, inadequate recourse. In the story from Sandra, we see where the issue is caused based on a charge of over $4,000, which actually was paid. And in the ultimate recourse, Sandra is getting $3,000 and something as a credit for the monthly charge of a rental. So this really would fall flat and feel inadequate because it's not above the amount that you've been going through all of this for, even though you didn't owe, you paid. The other thing is that Sandra is a loyal customer. Sandra has been with Flo for many years. So we checked to see if there were any loyalty programs that Flo offered, to see, what exactly is in it and could they have done something with that. However, we did not find a loyalty program. That could have been an oversight on our part. So if you know of a loyalty program that Flo has, please feel free to leave it in the comment section, and we want to hear from you on these Spike breakdowns. So please talk to us in the comment section below. We noticed, I should mention, that when we looked at what the employees were saying, They did mention that they had really long hours. Sometimes they don't have days off. They mentioned that there was a high turnover rate. They mentioned that the amount of work they had to do was not in keeping with the rewards they were getting. Now, these issues employees are having may be directly impacting the results that customers are having, because if the employees aren't equipped as they need to be, or they are worrying about being laid off, or they don't feel like they are being rewarded for the efforts they're putting in, that will show its head when it comes down to the customer, especially if the customers are always disgruntled and they're always facing it. One of the employees wrote that it is a very stressful environment, especially if you are customer facing. So that seems to indicate that they have a lot of disgruntled customers. So they need to be looking into what is causing them to have all these disgruntled customers all the time. So that's another thing. We also noticed that employees mentioned that it's hard to move up in departments, and they also mentioned that there needs to be more integration in between departments, and that they're constantly changing locations. So that seems to indicate that there are silos, and these silos could be directly impacting where there is lack of knowledge, because if people are working just in their space, that means when it comes time to deal with a customer and they have a lot of different issues, the persons won't know where to go or exactly what the policies and procedures are elsewhere, because everyone is working independently as opposed to working as a cohesive team. So that could be one of the things that's happening there. Also, if you're constantly changing locations, you can feel unsettled, which is what the employees also mentioned. So you don't get enough time to learn everything you need to learn in an area or connect with the people there. So that can leave you falling short as well. So there needs to be a balance in that area. Another thing we noticed in terms of Sandra's case is that she didn't get a response from the executives that she emailed. Now, this is really bad because it will leave the customer feeling like they are dispensable. And that's not a good feeling to leave your customer with. Now, we understand that one individual may not be able to get back to everyone, but in a circumstance like this, where the customer is complaining about her experience with customer service, it is really off-putting for the customer to then receive an email from someone right back in customer service who then has a reprimanding tone in the email. At the very least, a senior person within customer service could have responded and made the response more personable, be apologetic. So there needs to be some protocols in place about how these issues will be addressed, who will address them, who is the appropriate person. All of those things need to be decided so that when issues come up, everyone knows who to go to, when, where, how long it's going to take. So there needs to be some internal process improvements and training, so everyone is on the same page, everyone is aware, and everyone is able to provide the service at the level that's necessary for Flow's customers. So it would be very interesting for us to see what metrics Flow uses to determine whether or not their customers are successful, whether or not their customers are happy, and to see what exactly is important to them in terms of retaining their customers, because based on what we see online, they're really having some gaps in terms of their customers being successful and being happy about working with Flow. We would encourage Flow to have a voice of the customer program, because that will allow them to see what the customers are saying, how the customers are feeling, and help them to identify where the biggest issues are or what their most recurring issue is. Thankfully, Flow has many different avenues for customers to reach them. So even though we were only able to see what's on the internet in a very limited capacity, Flow has also the data at their customer service call centers, and there are telecommunications companies, so I'm sure they're able to pull this information together, but they need to use the data that they have. Use the data that they have and come up with strategies that will be beneficial to their customers. So we encourage a voice of the customer program. The next thing we would suggest is that Flow makes an effort to do some journey mapping. Flow is huge, so I'm sure they have different customer types and personas. They have customers for specific products. So we would suggest that they employ some journey mapping tools. They need to do some journey mapping to see what are the pain points for the customers, what are the pain points for the employees, and see where things need to be changed, where things need to flow. And this is not something that needs to be done just at the executive level. They need to have people from all the connected departments so they can begin to see how the company is operating as a whole, and how what they are doing as a whole is impacting the experience the customer is having with them. They'll be able to identify the barriers in their process, the blocks, the things that are creating difficulty, making things more challenging as opposed to convenient for their customers. So they need to engage in some journey mapping sessions and ensure they are including persons from the front lines, persons who are in technical departments, persons in communications, persons who are customer service agents, so that is something Flow really needs to participate in at this juncture. I said earlier that we couldn't find a loyalty program, so Flow needs to have a loyalty program. Everyone needs to have a loyalty program, and if you are taking advantage of our blog, you would know that a loyalty program is something we especially suggested during the COVID-19 times, which we are still in, but a loyalty program, get one. So thank you for joining me for our first spike breakdown, and you can submit your situation to us via DM or email hello@getthespike.com, and we will be very happy to do a spike breakdown with your situation and the company of your choosing. Please participate with us for the spike breakdowns. I look forward to reading your comments and questions below. Have a wonderful day, everyone, and I look forward to seeing you at the CX Unlocked pre-launch party on Thursday evening. It's going to be over on Facebook, so you can see everything and see all the people we have coming up. So